Hello all, welcome to Gurukul CAT 100 series, a series designed to take you from your study room to your corporate boardroom. I am Deepak and this is Daily Quant with Deepak. Hi all, welcome to day 22. In this video, we will be discussing 5 questions from arithmetic. So whenever you come across a question on the screen, do pause the video, try solving that question. Once you are done solving, you can resume the video. Now coming to the first question from mixtures. Beaker A contains 60 liters of 60% acid solution. So beaker A has 60 liters of 60% acid solution. So that means 36 liters of acid, and let me consider the remaining 24 liters as water. Now another perfectly sealed beaker B filled with 20 liters of, so B has 20 liters of 90% acid solution. So this will be having 18 liters of acid and 2 liters of water. Now beaker B bursts such that 120 ml of acid solution, so 120 ml of acid solution will be leaking into beaker A every minute. Now, in how many seconds after the burst will the acid concentration in beaker A become 65? Now, in this 120 ml, what will be the ratio of acid to water? It will be in the same ratio. So, 90% of 120 ml should be water. Sorry, should be acid. So, that means 108 ml is acid and the remaining 12 ml is water. Right. Now, let me assume that after X minutes, the concentration of the resultant mixture in beaker A becomes 65%. Right. So what is the initial quantity of acid in beaker A? 36 liters. Now since we are considering this in ml, let me consider 36 liters in ml as well. So 36,000 ml plus every minute we have 108 ml of acid solution leaking into beaker A. Right. So after x minutes, that would be 108x by what would be the volume of the final solution? 60 liters. That means 60,000 plus 120 into x. So every minute you have 120 ml leaking into beaker A. After x minutes, it would be 120x. Now this concentration is nothing but 65 by 100. Now let me cancel 1 0. Now 10 into 36,000, 3 lakh 60,000 plus 1080x. Now this should be equal to 6,000 into 65. Now let me split this as 6,000 into 60 plus 5. Now 6,000 into 6, 36,000 and one more 0. Then 6,000 into 5, 6,000 into 10, 60,000 by 2, 30,000. So this would be 3 lakh 90,000. So 3 lakh 90,000 plus now 65 into 10, 650. Now 65 into 2, 130. So this would be 780x. Right. Now shifting that to right hand side, 3,90,000 minus 3,60,000, you will be having 3,000. 1080 minus 780. This is nothing but 300x, or x is equal to 10. Now what is sorry, this is 30,000, not 3,000. Now x is equal to 30,000 by 300, that should be 100. Now what is x? We have considered x to be minutes, but what was asked? Right, in how many seconds after the burst will the acid concentration in beaker A becomes 65%? Now 100 minutes is equal to what? 100 into 60, 6,000 seconds should be the answer for this question. Now coming to the second question. A, B, C, D and E are equally efficient people who work together on an assignment. After the completion of the assignment, each of them was paid rupees 1,000. Assuming that each of them worked with 100% efficiency for equal amounts of time. However, later it was found that A alone worked for the entire duration till the assignment was completed, while B did not work for 1 hour, C for 2 hours, D did not work for 3 hours, and E did not work for 4 hours during the assignment. Had they been working equally, the assignment would have been completed in 12 hours. If the remunerations were recomputed, how much extra would A receive? Now, We have 5 persons A, B, C, D, and E, and they are equally efficient. So let me consider each of them will be doing 1 unit of work in 1 hour. Now, to get the work done together, they should be working for 12 hours. So, if they are working for 1 hour together, they will be completing 5 units of work. Right. Now, to complete the work, they are working for 12 hours. So, the total units of work that is done is 60 units. So, in order to complete the work, an amount of 60 units has to be done. Now, here in the second case, but it is given that, however, later it was found that A alone worked for the entire duration. Now, we do not know the duration. Let the duration be T hours. So, A worked for T hours, B worked for 1 hour less than T hours because B did not work for 1 hour. So, B worked for only T minus 1 hours. So, in T hours, A will be completing T units of work, B will be completing T minus 1 units of work, C will be completing, C did not work for 2 hours. So, C will be completing T minus 2 units of work, D T minus 3 units of work, and E T minus 4 units of work. Now, and they have completed the work, right? So, this should be equal to 60. So, what do we have? 5t minus 10 is equal to 60, 5t is equal to 70, or t is equal to 14, right? So, A work for 14 hours, B work for 13 hours, C work for 12 hours, D 11 hours, and E 10 hours, right? Now, had they been working equally, the assignment we have considered that what was asked, if the remunerations were recomputed, how much extra would A receive? So, in the earlier case, A was completing 12 units of work. Now, for 12 units, A will be receiving an amount of 1000, right? Now, we are not asked to find the revised remuneration. No, if the remunerations were recomputed, how much extra would A receive? Now, earlier A used to work for 12 hours, now A is working for 14 hours. So, A should be paid for 2 hours extra. If they are paying 1000 rupees for 12 hours, for 2 hours, it would be 1000 into 2 by 12. So 2 6, 1000 by 6, 166.66 rupees, and that has to be the answer for this question. Now coming to the third question, from a vessel containing 1 liter of pure acid, so you have 1000 ml of pure acid, 100 ml of pure acid was drawn out to each of the beakers A and B. So you will be having 100 ml in beaker A and 100 ml in beaker B. Then you will be having 800 ml of acid in the initial vessel. The acid in both the beakers was diluted by adding water in different proportions. Okay. Now after that, the contents of A and B were added back to the vessel. So there is some water mixed in these two vessels, and after that, both the vessels are emptied to the initial beaker. So you will be having 1000 ml of water, sorry, 1000 ml of pure acid plus some x liters of water, right? The concentration of acid in that vessel is 80%, right? So 1000 ml is 80%. And if that's the case, what would be the volume of equal to 100%? 1250 ml, right? So the amount of water that was mixed in these two beakers is 250 ml, right? Now, had the contents of beakers A and B be mixed with each other, right? So if you mix the contents of these two, instead of adding into the vessel, what would be the concentration of acid in that mixture, right? So when you mix these two solutions, you will be having 200 ml of acid and 250 ml of water. So the concentration would be 200 ml out of 450 ml into 100, right? So 59s, 54s, this is nothing but 400 by 9, that has to be 44.44%. Now coming to the fourth question, the average age of a family of 5 members reduces by 7 when the age of the oldest member is not considered. The average age increases by 4 when the age of the youngest member is not considered. The average of the middle 3 members is 16. Find the average age of the oldest and youngest members. So let me consider this 5 members as A, B, C, D, and E. Now A being the youngest and E being the oldest. Now let the average be X. Now the average age of all these 5 people is X. Now it is mentioned that uh, the average age of the family of 5 members reduces by 7 when the age of the oldest member is not considered. So when this person leaves, right? So there will be a reduction of 7 in the average. So the average will be X minus 7. Now, why is there a reduction in average? Because this person is taking an excess amount with him. Now, what was that excess amount? 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7. So, he is taking 28 years. So, the age of the eldest person is X plus 28. Right? Now, similarly, A, B, C, D, and E. Now, the average of these 5 persons' ages is X. When the youngest person leaves, then the average increases by 4. So this becomes X plus 4, X plus 4, X plus 4, and X plus 4. Right? Because this person is leaving some amount with the remaining 4. So what should be the age of this person? It should be X minus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, 16. Right? And the average age of middle 3 persons is 16. Find the average age of the oldest and youngest members. So we need to find the average age of A and E. Again, we have A, B, C, D, and E. The average of the ages of all these 5 persons is X. Now we know the age of age of A, X minus 16. We know the age of E, X plus 28, and we are given with the average of ages of B, C, and D, which is 16. So if the average is 16, sum of their ages has to be 48. So A's age plus the ages of B, C, and D plus age of E by number of persons 5 should be equal to the average X, right? So what do we have? X minus 16 minus 16 plus 48 plus 32 plus 32 plus 28, 60. So 2x plus 60 is equal to 5x, or 3x is equal to 60, or x is equal to 20. Now what was asked? Find the average age of the oldest and youngest members. So if x is equal to 20, the age of the oldest person would be 48. Age of the youngest is 4. So we are asked to find the average of these two, 52. 52 by 2, 26 years should be the answer for this question. Now coming to the last question. Ananya began a game with a certain amount of money. On the first day, the amount increased by a certain percentage, and on the second day, it decreased by the same percentage. After 2 days, her amount became 5,040 rupees. Let the initial amount be X. Right. So first X was increased by R percent and then decreased by R percent. Right. So successive percentage change. So the resultant percentage change would be. Now, Ananya began a game with a certain amount of money. On the first day, the amount increased by certain percentage, and on the second day, it decreased by the same percentage. After 2 days, her amount became rupees 5,040. Following the same pattern of increase and decrease, every 2 days, the amount at the end of the fourth day was rupees 4961.25. If this pattern continued, what was the amount she had rounded to the nearest integer at the end of the fifth day? So you can use the calculator to answer this question, right? So let me consider the transaction from 5040 to 4961.25. So 5040, right? So let me consider the percentage increase to be R percent. So it was increased by R percent and decreased by R percent. Then this has become 4961.25. Now, this is a successive percentage change, right? So the resultant percentage would be minus R square by 100. So there will be a loss of R square by 100%. Now, what is the loss here? 5040 minus 4961.25 by 5040, right? Now, I can remove minus symbol here because this is loss already. So the value of R will be, if you use calculator, it will be 12.5%. Right. Now because of 12.5% increase and 12.5% decrease, right? So there is a resultant loss of this 5040 minus 4961.25. Now, what was asked? If this pattern continued, what was the amount she had at the end of the fifth day? Now, 4961.25 was the amount at the end of the fourth day, right? Fifth day, there will be an increase of 12.5%. So, fifth day, the amount would be 4961.25 into 12% increase, 112.5 by 100, and this is nearest to 5581. Hence, option B should be the answer.
Hope you enjoyed learning from today's session.
This series is designed to help you with your CAT preparation and practice daily. We are with you in this journey.
To watch the next video, click here. And to watch Gurukul's CAT 100 series, study room to boardroom, the entire playlist, click here.
If you learned from today's session, like, share, and subscribe.